alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. Usually we also do one or two du'as, related to either the season, or we're trying to revise some of the du'as that we know. Today's du'a is going to be related to asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for for beneficial knowledge, right? Beneficial knowledge that benefits us. There are so many people that have a lot of knowledge. But if that knowledge is not benefiting you and me, it's not changing my action, then there is no benefit. Then knowledge becomes a source of burden for you on the Day of Judgment. So we will ask that dua. And who knows, let's see if anybody knows that dua first. Allahumma inni as'aluka. MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Some of the kids know. Do you want to come and recite it for us? Who wants to recite it for us? Now you're pointing fingers at one another. Why are you wearing gloves? Okay, he was making salad. He came straight from. Okay, come. Recite. Yeah, come. Is the echo still on? Yeah, it's still on in this. Come. No, you recited it. Come. Let's go. Get up. He also knows. Both of them know. Come on.
Don't be shy.
Bismillah. Okay, you have to recite it 3 times for everyone. Let's go. Come. Stand up. Hold the thing, and then in the shape of a dua. How does it begin? Who's going to help him? Allahumma inni as'aluka. Slow.
Allahumma inni as'aluka nafi'an
ilman nafi'a.
Allahumma
as'aluka
ilman nafi'a wa rizqan tayyiba wa 'amalan mutaqabbala. Okay,
again, slow down. Let them read. So Allahumma inni, and then they're going to read after you, okay? Allahumma inni as'aluka ilman nafi'an wa rizqan tayyiban wa 'amalan mutaqabbala. One more time. Allahumma inni as'aluka ilman nafi'a wa rizqan tayyiban wa 'amalan mutaqabbala. Barakallahu feek. So this dua is one of the essential du'as that whenever you start seeking any knowledge, you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allahumma inni as'aluka, oh Allah, I ask you. What do you want to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Ilman nafi'a. Knowledge that benefits us. Today we're going to walk away with so many different information, inshallah, a journey through different stories. So without ilman nafi'a, without beneficial knowledge, there is no benefit for you and me in this dunya. The problem that we live in today is information has become a source of distraction. We know so much, yet we do so little. In the past, many of you that are here, if you're in your 50s and 60s, can vouch for that the people of the past, they knew less, but they had a lot more in practice than you and I. Right? So, ilman nafi'a. The next part is rizqan tayyiba. Right? All of us, where do we go wrong when we start searching for rizq, left, right, and center, and the ilm that we learned about salah, namaz, zakat, Quran, connection with Allah, dhikr, salawat, all of that leaves. So Allah, you're asking Allah, rizqan tayyiba. Give me rizq that is tayyib. Tayyib is something that is halal, number one. It has to be halal. Your source of income has to be halal, rizqan tayyiba. The second part of rizqan tayyib is a rizq that is also pure in its intrinsically, rizqan tayyiba. Halal, the source of earning, halal in terms of it, the rizq being halal, but more importantly, what type of halal, right? Like, was the animal tortured before it was slaughtered? All of those things come into rizqan tayyiba. And you're asking Allah that provide me that rizq, right? And the last part is وَعَمَلًا مُتَقَبَّلًا. We all have things to do in our lives. All we want is we want amal, an action. After all of my struggles, Ya Allah, the moments that I took out to come to different places to study, what if that is not accepted? What if that is not accepted from us? Right? All of that gone to waste. So you're asking amalan mutaqabbala. I want amal that is accepted from you. And for anything to be accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it must have three conditions. Number one, it must be according to the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If it is not according to the ways of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it could be direct ways or ways inspired by the ways of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Second one is it needs to have sincerity and ikhlas. If I pray salah so that other people can tell and talk about it in the masjid, oh mashallah, brother is praying really good sunnahs, and mashallah, what a great brother, what a great sister. Like, oh mashallah, the khushu, her khushu, his khushu, right? That completely invalidates everything for us then. So remember, rizqan tayyiba, amala mutaqabbala, three things. Number one, it has to be according to the sunnah of Rasulullah. Number two, that amal has to have absolute sincerity. Okay? You have to be sincere in it. Number three, the amal has to be done by a Muslim. Condition is Islam. Right? An acceptable amal. The first is, if you read any fiqh book, they start off, يَجِبُ الصَّوْمُ عَلَى كُلِّ مُسْلِمٍ. Fasting is obligatory on every Muslim. يَجِبُ الزَّكَاةُ عَلَى كُلِّ مُسْلِمٍ. Zakat is wajib on every Muslim. If you're not a Muslim, then those obligations don't apply to you. Right? So Islam is a precondition to all of that. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us, may Allah accept that dua from us, inshallah. So today we have lecture. That lecture is going to be two-pronged. First part of the lecture, inshallah, is going to be about the day of Ashura and whatever has been mentioned in our tafsir books and wherever that I was able to find some information related to the day of Ashura and why it is a day that is very significant for the Muslims. Then the events of Ashura that happened on the 10th of Ashura in Karbala. Now, in the story of Karbala, we are not going to go into the story of the actual mashhad of what happened we all have heard it many, many times. So hopefully there's a new perspective for all of us to walk away with, inshallah, that we should all be able to benefit from, and we will touch upon that bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. And in between we have some nasheed to lighten the mood for everybody over here, inshallah, before we get into a deeper topic. So the day of Ashura, the fast of Ashura, if somebody can get Abdullah to ask him to turn the echo off, that's really annoying me. You know how to do it? I don't know. I don't know. If you learn it once, I will trust you, inshallah. So the day of Ashura, Muharram, right? The day of Ashura, it is a very significant day. But for us as Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it is something that it has been mentioned, and this is called al-musalsal al-Ashura. The ulama, they have a tradition. The tradition is that there are different ahadith that are recited to a person when they are first time meeting. So for example, when a teacher meets a student for the first time. When you meet your teacher, and this teacher has a chain that goes all the way back to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the first thing they're going to teach you is musalsal al-awwaliyya. Ar-rahimuna yarhamuhum ar-rahman. The merciful ones, Allah is merciful upon them. And then the shaykh is going to say, I learned this hadith from my shaykh, and I learned this hadith from my shaykh, all the way back to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We're going to need some more chairs. There are some older sisters that need some chairs at the back. So maybe some of the brothers, can you grab some chairs? And if you don't need a chair, please feel free to sit on the ground. right? Because then the chairs can be used by people who need the chairs, inshallah. If you can sit on the ground in the front, the brother side over here, we have so much space, inshallah. Feel free. And if you need the chair, then I understand. All right. Barakallahu feek. Thank you so much for the adjustment. Jameel. So, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this hadith that we're going to recite today, this is called Musalsal al-Ashura. This is a hadith that the scholars generally recite to the congregants. If you go and read any of the traditional gatherings that are happening all across the world, they are reciting something called Musalsal al-Ashura, the hadith that has a connected chain. So I have a chain in this hadith that is from my teacher, from my teacher, from my teacher, from my teacher, all the way to Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay? And when you hear this hadith from me, then you all become connected to that chain. That you got this chain from me, Ahmad Saleem, who heard it from Dr. Yusri Jabbar, who heard it from his teacher, his older brother, who heard it from his grandfather, who heard it from his, and then his uncle, all the way to the Shaykh of Azhar, all the way back to some of the scholars, then the Tabi'een, Atba' Tabi'een, all the way to Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So when we read this hadith today, inshallah, this hadith, inshallah, with the recitation of it, I will recite it and all of you, inshallah, shall get connected to that chain. So when you now pass on that hadith and you say this hadith, we all know the hadith of the fast of Ashura, right? We all know the hadith of the fast of Ashura, but when we read this hadith now, it is called Musalsal al-Ashura. You are now connected to one hadith all the way to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam because you heard it. That is how hadiths were transmitted. Right? I heard from this person, and that person heard from this person, and that person heard from this person, and then he heard that he sallallahu alaihi wasallam said this. This is what you hear in Bukhari. So this is that particular hadith, inshallah, and hopefully, inshallah, bi'idhnillah, with this hadith, you guys can be part of that chain. And obviously, the whole point of these chains is that we walk away with the barakah, inshallah, of that, inshallah, bi'idhnillah ta'ala. Why is my laptop updating right now? I don't like this. Sorry guys, 1 second. Allahumma salli wa sallim ala nabiyyina Muhammad ya Rabbi. Allahumma salli wa sallim ala nabiyyina Muhammad. جميل. So, أن قتادة رضي الله عنه قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال سئل عن صوم يوم عاشوراء. Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم was asked by the Sahaba, what do you say about the fast of the day of Ashura? So Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, he responded that يكفر سنة الماضية. This fast, inshallah, when we are all fasting today, is going to expiate our sins of whatever happened in the past. Specifically, it doesn't say any sins. It says يكفر سنة الماضية, right? I.e., it is going to expiate, i.e., there are sins that we may have committed that require specific expiations, right? But this one is general, that if there were sins we did, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to take care of those sins for us, inshallah, bi'idhnillah. And they will be expiated. Notice how it's really interesting that when we read, inshallah, a little bit more about Ashura, you're going to make this connection. What is one of the main significant event that happened on the day of Ashura before Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Musa alayhi salam was saved from Fir'aun, and Bani Israel were saved, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Musa alayhi salam was saved, and their saving happened in this dunya, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved Muslims from their enemies in this dunya, so you got a fast and you got 1 year of sin forgiven. This was the sharia of Musa alayhi salam. And then we carried on that because Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam legislated that for us. But imagine for us what happens on the day of Arafah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives more people in Akhirah than the entire day. And for us, we get 1 day of fast, but we get 2 years of sins forgiven. The past and the future. Right? And this is why the ulama, they've said that our sharia is better. That what Rasulullah legislated was even better. It's the same fast, same number of hours. You're going to sunrise to sunset, but you get 2 years there and you get 1 year over here. So, some of the historical events that happened on the day of Ashura. Number one is the day of Ashura is the day where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved Musa alayhi salam. He also drowned Fir'aun on this day of Ashura. Now, everything that I'm going to say here onwards, this part of Musa alayhi salam, this is agreed upon by every scholar. Nobody disputes this. Okay? The rest of the stuff, majority of the scholars agree with it, some of the scholars differ with it. So take it, you should know this. There are some scholars who don't agree with these things. But it doesn't change your iman. These are events, historical events, that we have narrations in our tafsir books. For example, the acceptance of the tawbah of Adam alayhi salam. We've been studying the story of Adam alayhi salam in our family nights. That tawbah was accepted on the day of Ashura. On the day of Ashura. The next part, the ark of Nuh alayhi salam, wastawat ala al-Judi, right? That ark, it came and became stationed on Judi. That event of Nuh alayhi salam happened also on the day of Ashura, where the floods receded and the ship parked itself on top of the Mount Judi. Then the saving of Ibrahim alayhi salam from the fire also happened on the day of Ashura. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved Ibrahim alayhi salam on this day. Then Yunus alayhi salam was rescued from the belly of the whale on this particular day. He went into the belly and he came out from the belly of the whale on this particular day. Okay. Then Yusuf alayhi salam and their reunion between Yaqub alayhi salam and Yusuf alayhi salam, the reunion after many, many years, that reunion also happened on the day of Ashura. Then we have the martyrdom of, obviously, Hussain radiallahu an. We also have the tawbah of Dawood alayhi salam. Right? Dawood alayhi salam made tawbah. That tawbah was accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Isa alayhi salam, according to some traditions, these traditions are mostly Israeliyat, and it's also mentioned in our tafsir books. I mean, Ibn Kathir and those people have mentioned that in our tafsir books. That also, the ascension of Isa alayhi salam also happened on the day of Ashura. And there are many, many others that are of much lesser, such as Idris alayhi salam, he ascended to the fourth heaven on these days. Those are extreme, those are fabricated opinions. So this tells us that there's no ordinary day, right? This is a day that is filled with significance. Now, 3 points that I want to mention about this day, and we will jump into the other story. The first point I want to mention about this day is, other than, the sisters are going to love this point, other than fasting, what is the second ibadah we are supposed to do that we have enough narrations about on this day? Be more specific. Not doing good to your family. Spending on your wife. Specifically says, tawsi'at ala al-ahl, spending and buying things for your family. So we're going to pause here for 5 minutes. We're going to let the sisters decide what they want to put in their Amazon carts. And then we'll wait for the brothers to click yes and pay with their own personal accounts. How's that? None of the sisters want it, mashallah. They are maintaining. Oh, you don't even have financial control, mashallah. The brother is like, they're maintaining the control, subhanallah. So this is something you should do before the day's end. That tawsiyat ala al-ahl, that is something you want to go beyond your daily whatever that you spend weekly on your wife. And specifically when the word ahl comes, it's wife, and it can also mean your kids too, your family in general. That spending is going to what? If you do that, the reward is Allah will expand your rizq. Wasa'allahu alayk. Allah is going to expand your rizq, i.e. your dollar will go a lot more. You will find good deals for all of your technology items for the guys, and all your equipment that you need to buy in the garage that sits there, and all the carpentry stuff that you want to buy, and all the tools that we want to buy, all the fishing rods we want to buy, everything will inshallah be on sale for us if we spend on the sisters today, inshallah. On your wives, not on the sisters. Inshallah. Now, that's point number one. Point number two, and this is a very important point for us, and this will lead into the understanding of the story of Hussain radiallahu anh. Understand that these boundaries that have been created, the countries that have been created for us, right? The ulama, they say, al-hududu turabun. These boundaries of countries are nothing but lines drawn through dust. What unites every single, look around you, right? Ain't nobody like another person. We are all from different ethnicities. What unites you and me is La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. What brings you and me here is La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. It's not the ethnicity that I'm from. It's not the color that I belong. It's not the background that I have. None of that. The different shades of my skin does not determine who I sit with, who I say salam to. And the day of Ashura is an indication of that. How? When Rasulullah heard that Musa alayhi salam and he was saved, when the Sahabas asked on the day of Ashura, he said, oh, wait a minute, the Jews and the Christians fast on this day? نَحْنُ أَوْلَى بِمُوسَى. We're more worthy of Musa. Forget Bani Israel and Jews and Christians. We have a direct nasab with Musa alayhi salam. The thing that connects me with Musa alayhi salam is what? La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. It connects you stronger than any Jew in this world. The thing that connects you to Isa alayhi salam is La ilaha illallah. It connects you stronger to Isa alayhi salam than any other Christian in this world. And likewise, around us, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah connects me stronger than the Sykes-Picot borders that were created for us in the 1900s, early 1900s by a French and a British guy. Oh, you are Nigerian, you are this, you're that. You are Pathan, you're within our own countries they divided us. So the day of Ashura is an inspiration for us that if Rasulullah allowed us to say, you know what, nahnu awla, we have more right to Musa. Then look around you and the brothers and sisters, you have more right upon them by La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. And I repeat what Imam Khalid said from these same pillars, right? The same pulpit. He said what? You don't become an ayah of Yawmul Qiyamah. Because towards the end of hour, people will only say salam to their own sin colors, their own people, the people that I know, the people that I feel comfortable with. Muslims will only say salam to those that I feel comfortable with. So don't become an ayah. So take a moment right now. Turn to your left, turn to your right. There should be brothers and sisters sitting to you. Say salam to the brother to your right and the sister to your left or sister to your right, and get to know them a little bit. Talk about, where are you from? This is what I do. Not just a simple salam. Talk about it, right? The conversation. Hey, assalamu alaikum. Like a warm salam, right? You know what? You should hug each other. Let's go. Get up. Sisters, get up. Let's do this. This is too much. Everyone get up. Let's go. Who's going to hug me? Hashir, come. You're going to hug me. Let's go, sisters. Come on. Stand up. Hashir, my name is Ahmed.
My name is Hashir.
Where are you from?
India.
America. No, you don't only go hug other sisters. You all know each other. Go. Make sure you connect with somebody you don't know. All right. Let's reconvene, inshallah. So the first lesson that we get on the day of Ashura, the first lesson that we have on the day of Ashura is al-hududu turabun. The boundaries are nothing but sawdust and sand. Let's diminish those boundaries on this day, as Rasulullah did when he heard that Musa alayhi salam was saved. He's like, Nahnu awla bi Musa. We're more worthy of Musa. So know your brother and sister next to you, and let's diminish these boundaries. The second, we all know the hadith where Prophet ﷺ, some of the Sahabas, they came to Rasulullah ﷺ towards the end, last year of Prophet ﷺ, and he said, Ya Rasulullah, some of the Jews and the Christians also now, they fast on this day. So then Rasulullah ﷺ said that if I get to live till next year, what am I going to do? What did he say? I'm going to fast the 9th and the 10th. Right? And then Ibn Abbas, he said, if you miss the 9th and the 10th, you can do the 10th and the 11th. Okay? Now, this is a simple question, but I want you to ask yourselves this. What led the Sahabas, what was the worry that the Sahabas had that maybe we're not doing something right? What led them to ask this question? Not copying the lost the word completely. Other religion, and do not copy other religions. Do not copy the kuffar. Do not copy the non-believers. That was a big worry in them. And this you can understand. This you can understand by this element, that this is in the last year of Medina. So Medina is established, and they're like, you know what? We don't want to be like we don't want to assimilate. Is this going to be seen as a sign of assimilation? That was their concern. That was their primary concern. And that should also be our concern. See, Muslims, there's a huge difference. Muslims, whichever land they went to, other people assimilated into their culture and tradition. When Muslims went to China, why do you have 200 million Muslims in China today? You have 200 million Muslims in China because they didn't assimilate. Others found their way of life strange, but very fascinating. And then they said, let me learn a little bit more about you guys. And once they came in, they were like, wow. Having said that, Rasulullah ﷺ never boycotted. He never did a boycott saying, I'm not going to work with the non-Muslims. Right? There's a difference. What is the sign of assimilation? How do you know? When you look at an average Muslim's day-to-day get up, when he gets up in the morning, from the time he gets up in the morning to what he eats, how he dresses, where does he go, what does he do, like his day-to-day, his average autopilot day. Does that average autopilot day, does it replicate a Muslim lifestyle or some other lifestyle? Right? That's what Rasulullah was talking about, that assimilation. He was talking about that we will start replicating, not that we're going to be like, oh, we're now wearing crosses. Right? No. It's that our lifestyle will become very similar to their lifestyles. Okay? What happens on the weekends? Right? I'll give you 2 examples of this. What happens in the weekends when school starts is, you have regular parents that are so dedicated in driving their kids around to all different various types of classes that you can imagine. Class for this, there's a class for tech, there's a class for programming, there's a class for sports, he's learning this, she's learning swimming, class for that, and they will sacrifice all of their meetings for that. That's assimilating to the Western lifestyle. Right? Eastern lifestyle is that you want to make sure that before the child becomes baligh, before he becomes 14 or 15, can he recite Surah Al-Fatiha correctly? Can he go, have we put in the same amount of effort that we put in as we have done for other things for my kids? And why are we running a soccer mom lifestyle and a soccer dad life? Why are we chasing that? Who taught us? Why is that important? Why did it even made it to the hierarchy of important things for us? Think about that. Are there other important things that we can add that could benefit my child in the akhirah, which he's going to have to spend most of his life, and his 60 years, 70 years, 80 years of life that he's going to live, the time that I will have the most with my child, am I going to occupy that with those mubah? It's not haram, it's mubah. It's permissible activities. But kathratul mubah tumitul qalb. When we have abundance of permissible things, it diminishes the light of your heart. But we fill our lives with abundance of recommended things and a few permissible things here and there, then that is really beneficial. So it's a thought for all of us that as Rasulullah ﷺ and the Sahaba, they were very cautious about, wait a minute, we are fasting. Remember, they were even cautious in an ibadah, right? They were worshipping Allah. Like, is this worship going to be look like as if we're going to assimilate like no, Ya Rasulullah, is this okay? And then Rasulullah ﷺ said, hey, next year we'll fast too. Now, speaking of that, some people messaged me today, they asked me, and I said, simple answer is that if you missed yesterday's fast, no problem. The most important fast to keep, there are 3 levels to this. Level number 1 is you fast Ashura, and inshallah, all of you will get the reward, inshallah. Level number 2 is you fast alternate, like you either fast 9th, 10th, or 10th, 11th. Level number 3, which is Ibn Abbas. Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu used to have level 3. He would fast 9th, 10th, and the 11th. And he used to say, I just want to make sure that I'm really not like them. Right? So if you fasted the 9th and the 10th, go ahead, you can fast tomorrow too. If you missed your 9th and you only want to do 10th, no worries. If you have young kids and they don't want to fast, don't force them. Because the good part for us is no Christians are fasting on this day anymore. Neither are any Jews. They're no longer fasting on this day. So we don't have that worry that we're going to assimilate to them. We are doing this because this would have been Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's natural reaction, inshallah. Nothing. Their calendars have changed, everything has changed. Because it was specific to this day, not for us. So, okay. All right, so that was to do with Ashura, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless everyone. We're going to do a little bit of a quick break. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillahi wa ba'd. Inshallah, now we begin the second part of this presentation, inshallah, which is to do with the events of Karbala. Now, as I had mentioned earlier, I do not intend to go into a complete detail of what happened on the night of Karbala. Right? That you guys can go and listen to any lectures. Tons of lectures available online in whichever language you find yourself suitable. Turn off the echo, please. So whichever lecture you would like to listen to, I would highly recommend the historical analysis of the events of Karbala by Shaykh Yasir Qadi. I think it's 1 hour and 46 minutes. It's phenomenal. He breaks it down. You will get to know all the names and stuff. What I want to be able to do today, inshallah, my intention is to be able to understand, we want to look at all of those events as a bird's eye view. And you want to be able to understand the geopolitical situation, what was happening at that time. So you can actually draw dots of why and where and what was happening. Because understand that Islam was a rising power. And as history has told us, that whenever you have something that is rising in power, you have lots of propaganda against that. That's natural. That's natural human behavior. Why? Because people feel threatened. Status quo is being questioned. So Islam came, and in 30 years, it's rivaling superpowers that have been there for millennia, thousands of years. The Persian Empire, 2,500 years. The Roman Empire. So it was really like for the people, they couldn't grasp what is happening. And there is no materialistic advancement. There is no towers that are being built. There is no materialistic advancement. It's all moral and people driven. So it's a grassroots movement in our terms. And it's taking over the world. So what were the three religions that the Muslims interacted with geopolitically? Sorry? Zoroastrians, Persians, Zoroastrians. And number two, Christians. And the Jews. Beautiful. Which of the two were completely annihilated at the hands of the Muslim in the first 30 years? The Persians and the Romans. Qaisar and Kisra, Caesars, and they both fell to the Muslims. Umar radiallahu anhu went and grabbed the keys of Andalus himself, right? So all of this happened. So the power of the Persians was completely demolished. They even had a general of theirs. That general was captured. He was the mastermind behind all of the attacks at the time of Umar radiallahu anhu. And that general was brought to Umar radiallahu anhu, Persian general, who was plotting to overthrow the Arabian Peninsula and the Khilafah. And Umar radiallahu anhu, he says, هَذَا رَجُلٌ وَاجِبُ الْقَتْلِ. This person has to be killed. So he said to Umar, before you kill me, would you be able to give me a cup of water so I can drink it? So Umar radiallahu anhu said, yeah, I'll give you a cup of water. And he said, are you promising me that you will not kill me until I finish this cup of water? So the person said, so Umar radiallahu anhu was like, Naam, I'll let you finish your cup of water. You promise? He said, I promise. Then he took the cup of water. What do you think he did? He tossed it. He said, I didn't drink and you made a promise, Umar. So you can't kill me now. So Umar radiallahu anhu let him go. From the same person, Abu Lu'lu' al-Majusi came. Abu Lu'lu' the Zoroastrian, the one who killed Umar radiallahu anhu, came from the battalion of this person. So it's not it just happened. There was a political movement there. Persians were trying to get power back at full scale. So towards the Khilafah of Umar radiallahu anhu and the beginning of Uthman radiallahu anhu, how many years did Uthman radiallahu anhu rule? 13 years. He ruled 12 years. 10 years, no issues. Last 2 years was all the drama happened. So the first 10 years of Uthman radiallahu anhu's Khilafah, nothing happens. Everything's good. Somebody from the Jews arrives in Medina and pretends to be a Muslim. What was his name? Who knows? His name was Abdullah ibn Saba. Abdullah ibn Saba. Abdullah ibn Saba, he pretended to be a Muslim amongst the Muslims. He was a munafiq. He was actually aligned with the Persians at that time to take down. So he was aligned with the Persians. His thing was, let's take down this power. And he started disseminating false information about Uthman radiallahu anhu. And he inflamed the tribalism that existed that Rasulullah had completely kept under control when he was there. And the tribalism was, we must understand the political structure of Quraysh. They were Banu Hashim, right? Banu Adi, Banu Taym, Banu Umayyah, and all of these abna. They're all part of this big qabila called what? Quraysh. Each households were the sons, and each sons now had become full clans, and they are trying to be the leaders at this time. Who's going to be the leader? And the two primary front runners were Banu Hashim and Banu Umayyah. Banu Hashim and Banu Umayyah. They were the two front runners. Oh, you are going to give people bread? I am going to give people juice with sugar in it. for the Hujjaj. Like they were like, I'm going to up everything Banu Hashim would do, Banu Umayyah would come and they would like, I'll up it one more. Every time Banu Umayyah would do something. So this is the political climate. He inflamed that. He came and he said, wow, until now 3 Khalifas have gone and not a single Khalifa from Banu Hashim. The people of Banu Hashim, Ali radiallahu anh, they're like, interesting. Right? They're hearing all of this. This information comes to Ali radiallahu anh, but he was trained by who? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, don't listen to all of this. This is nothing but fitna. Uthman is our Khalifa. And there's no discussion about it. So then they inflamed that more and more and more. These people who were the groupies of Abdullah ibn Sabah, they're called Sabians. Okay? Sabians, Saba'i. Right? I.e. they followed the methodology of Abdullah ibn Sabah. Towards the end, he started claiming all of these people, they were a propaganda machine. Abdullah ibn Sabah was running a CNN and BBC channel at that time. Okay? I'm serious. So he had groups of people that were going at one place in Kufa and spreading rumors about the governor of Medina. Then they were going to Egypt and spreading rumors at the time of where Muawiyah was, spreading rumors about Medina. Though they don't like you guys. Oh, they don't like you guys. They don't like you guys. That's exactly what is being done to us today. Pakistanis don't like Indians, right? You're in this whole political thing, Pathans versus that, Masri, Iraqi, all of this, what is happening? Same things were happening at that time. So they inflamed this so much, the people started getting confused. And then he spread the biggest fitna of that time where he said, Ali is divine. Ali radiallahu an, he is divine. The example of Ali is just like Musa and Harun. The example of Ali is like Musa and Harun, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Ali. So he claimed an element of divinity. He claimed an element of divinity for Ali radiallahu an. In Islam, we are not allowed to burn anybody to death as a punishment. Okay? Islam does not allow you to do that. If anybody has to be punished and there has to be an execution for that, that punishment cannot be through fire at all. It's haram. No matter what the sin is. Ali radiallahu an burned Abdullah ibn Sabah alive in the market. But his followers didn't go. So what happened? Long story short, Abdullah ibn Sabah, he kind of succeeds. These Sabians, these are called Khawarij. So now you understand. Why are they Khawarij? Because they were not actually Muslims. They were external forces that were working within the Ummah at that time. So they inflame and they go ahead and plot this whole plan of killing Uthman radiallahu anh. Ever wondered why Ali radiallahu anh left Medina, all of a sudden picked himself up and went to Kufa? Right? The answers that you're going to get, mainstream Sunni answer that you're going to get is what? Oh, it was a move so that he could be closer to the masses of Muslims. And so he could have greater access to the Levant area and Sham, and he could have greater access to Africa. Where can you have a much faster access to, from Medina or from Iraq? On the map. From Medina. Cross the ship and you're in Egypt. Go up and you're in Jordan. Palestine, you're like right here, right? So think about it. Why? Because he recognized that he couldn't trust many of the people at that time. They were pretending to be Muslims. And they were inflaming all of this. So he had to uproot his entire operation and go to Kufa. So he moved to Kufa. They too moved to Kufa. They didn't leave Ali radiallahu anh entirety. So Ali radiallahu anh is the Khalifa. And so 5 years of Ali radiallahu anh's Khilafah and 6 months of Hassan radiallahu anh was the time which is the most difficult time for Muslims to study and to read about. They call it the dawr of fitna, the time of fitna for us. Does anybody know how many Sahabas were killed and Tabi'een were killed? The number in those 5 years? 100,000 plus. And they were not killed by mass bombs, they were killed by like swords. Because of false information and propaganda. We must understand this. We are living a time where we are surrounded by propaganda. The feed that you see on your Instagram, the feed that you see on your Twitter is propaganda. No matter how much somebody says that they bought X for freedom of speech. It might be less of a propaganda, but yet still there is propaganda. So as Muslims, we have to be very careful about these things. If the generation of that time could not be saved with propaganda, right? Imagine, they all fell in. Who were the people who fought Ali radiallahu an, Aisha radiallahu an? She's been given glad tidings for Jannah. Talha, glad tidings for Jannah. Zubair, glad tidings for Jannah. Radiallahu anhum ajma'in. They all were given glad tidings for Jannah. 2 of them died on that night. They were having a meeting with Ali radiallahu anh. Guess what happened? They had their people. They're like, okay, we're going to be a big group of people. You have 100 people here, 100 people here. All of you stand up if Ali submits to their demands. What was their demand? We need to take revenge for the death of who? Uthman. Uthman radiallahu anh is from which tribe? Banu Umayyah. Ali is from which tribe? Banu Hashim. There's a fight. It's not a Muslim, it's not an Islam fight. It's a rivalry of tribes right now. They're like, one of ours was killed by the people who follows Ali, Shi'at Ali. They killed him. So Banu Hashim has the blood of Uthman on their hands. There must be a ransom. So Ali radiallahu anh agreed. He said, Abshir, we will find those killers and we'll bring them to justice. At that point, one person got up from the Sabians. No. Another person got up. No. 10,000 people in that masjid got up and said, Kulluna, every single one of us has killed Uthman. Kill us. And the battle happened that night, and it is mentioned in our tafsir books that 10,000 Sahabas died that night. Because a few 50, 60 people were able to mobilize 10,000 people. Emotions kick in, right? All of that. So propaganda is very, very dangerous. Understand this. So Ali radiallahu an, he recognizes his propaganda, tries to stop, but the Battle of Jabal, the Battle of Siffin is already happening. It's just out of control. And finally, it all comes to rest. But the people, Shi'at Ali, they realize that Ali radiallahu an is now about to give, either he's going to step down and he's going to take Muawiyah as the leader. Or Muawiyah is going to come and give bay'ah to Ali. They were very close to making this. At that point, few of the people, they defected from the Shi'at Ali, the Sabians, and they went and they killed Ali radiallahu anh. So understand, it's a political plot here. They killed Ali. They're like, oh, we're losing the battle here. What's the ultimate goal of these Sabians? To bring Banu Hashim in power? No. Banu Hashim's already in power. The ultimate goal is to divide the Muslim Ummah into 2 groups. Let's go back in history. Who divided the Christians into 2 groups? The person who did that was a Jew. The Christians were not Protestants and Catholics before. They were one. The person who led that to be able to create that division, go and read about it. It was a Jew that was funded by somebody and said, let's divide the Christians, because if we don't divide the Christians into two and into many other sects, we're not going to be able to defeat them. With Islam, they divided the Ummah into two. The Shi'at Ali became the Shi'as, the ones who were, because they could not believe, and they put the blame of killing of Ali on the other side. Right before the death of Ali radiallahu anh, they asked him, are you okay if we make Hassan radiallahu anh the Khalifa? And he said, I'm not going to stop you and I'm not going to interfere in this affairs. It is your affair, do whatever you wish. I'm not going to interfere. So Ali radiallahu anh dies and people all get together and they give bay'ah to Hassan, but there is another group of people in Egypt and Sham and Syria, they all give bay'ah to who? Muawiyah radiallahu anh. Now understand that Muawiyah radiallahu anh, so Hassan radiallahu anh, he becomes a Khalifa. That is why if you look at the hadith of Prophet ﷺ, he says that تَكُونُ مِن بَعْدِي خِلَافَةٌ 30 عَامًا. Then after my death, 30 years are going to be Khilafah. Then they're going to come Mamalik. At the death of Ali radiallahu anh, we completed 25 years and 6 months. And that's why, in my opinion too, there's no 4 Khalifas, there are actually 5 Khalifas of Islam. Because Hassan radiallahu anh, he got the Khilafah for 6 months. He became the Khalifa for 6 months. He didn't seek it out. People made him the Khalifa for 6 months. People made him Khalifa for 6 months. But on the 6th month, he recognized that the Ummah is too divided. And I don't want this power with this division, I want to unite. And that is why when Hassan radiallahu anh was on a mimbar and Rasulullah was making dua, he looked at Hassan, he said that this son of mine, he is going to join 2 major groups of the Muslims at his hand. So Hassan radiallahu anh was too young to even remember this hadith. And then Hassan radiallahu anh at that time, he became the Khalifa and he said, yes, no problem, we will accept Muawiyah and we will end this discord. Muawiyah will be accepted, we will end this discord. No problem. What was the one condition? There was a whole document of 6 conditions, but there was one main condition that he put on Muawiyah. That after your death, after the death of Muawiyah, تَكُونُ الْخِلَافَةُ عَلَى نَهْجِ النُّبُوَّةِ. Then we will go back to the Khalifa system, where nobody will appoint themselves. People will choose their own leader. They will be like, this is the best person to lead. People will choose their leader. So Muawiyah radiallahu anh agreed to that. Hassan radiallahu anh, he dies. There's lots of stories mentioned on how he's died. His wife gave him poison. Most of those stories are fabricated. We don't know how he died authentically. Hassan radiallahu anh dies. Muawiyah radiallahu anh, he is the full-fledged Khalifa. Even during the life of Hassan when he was alive, 5 people did not give bay'ah to Muawiyah. They said, Muawiyah is at wrong. No matter what happens, we will not accept it. Who are the 5 people? Who can tell me? Imam Hussain, yes, that's an easy one. Abdullah ibn Zubayr? No. His son was the one who was killing Hussein. No, he was not there. Sa'ad ibn Abi, no. No, he was not even there. He had long gone. Abdullah ibn Abbas. Who else is very important? Abdullah ibn Zubayr, Abdullah ibn Umar. And last one? Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu's son, Abdurrahman ibn Abu Bakr. All of the Khalifas, their sons, they said, we're not going to accept this. For 20 years, Muawiyah radiallahu anh was the Khalifa. He never touched them. And they never give bay'ah. They're like, we're not going to give the Pledge of Allegiance to you, but they stayed quietly. They did their own things. They said, yeah, you're a ruler, we don't accept you as a ruler. And nobody bothered them for 20 years. We will have to understand this history. For 20 years, nothing happened to them. Right? The propaganda that they were instigators, no, absolutely not. And all of the Sabians, what happened to them? They recognized that the guy on top is really powerful. Muawiyah was a very powerful ruler. I want you to understand this, right? Muawiyah radiallahu an, he's not your ordinary man. Some people say, oh, Muawiyah radiallahu made a mistake. Number one, Muawiyah radiallahu was Rasulullah's brother-in-law. Muawiyah's sister was married to Prophet ﷺ, Habiba. So he had direct kinship with Prophet ﷺ, right? Relationship. Number two, he was one of the 10 scribes of the Quran. The Quran you and I have, many of the ayat in those Quran were written by Muawiyah radiallahu an. Right? So he had great manaqib that you cannot. But he was a very mighty military leader. Right? That's why in his rule, all of these Abdullah ibn Sabah's Sabians, none of them even said, They were all like, they're like, this is not the time for us. Because if we say, he's going to come and kill all of us. He's going to kill all of us. So, now what happens, Shu'bah ibn Mughira radiallahu an, he says to Muawiyah radiallahu an that, look, right now all of the kibar of the Sahabas that were first-hand trained by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, most of them have passed away. And I would like that if you die, we're going to go back to the time of Ali again. So why don't you appoint a leader right now in your lifetime? And some of the senior Sahabas who are alive will train him, guide him, help him, groom him to be a leader. So what happened? Muawiyah radiallahu anh liked the suggestion. And he broke the pact that he did with Hassan. That everybody is going to give allegiance to me on the condition that now I will not appoint another Khalifa, we will wait for the Ummah to decide who is the Khalifa. And when that pact was broken, he forced everybody to give allegiance to who? Who was his son? Yazid ibn Muawiyah. They were forced. Everybody must take oath of allegiance against Yazid, for Yazid. Again, all of these 5, now there were 4. One of them had passed away. All of the 4, they said, we're not going to take this allegiance. And again, now, this time of theirs, their position was based on what? Wait a minute, we have a written contract. We have a written contract based on which Hassan radiallahu anh declined. He stepped down. He said 6 conditions. And you guys are breaking the most important condition in that. We're not going to accept this. So Muawiyah radiallahu anh passes away. And as soon as Yazid comes in power, guess who also activates? The Sabians, they come. The Sebais, they're like, oh wow, opportunity to divide the Ummah. Opportunity to divide this Ummah. So they go at work, full-fledged, they go at work. They start working. They start going to Kufa. They start sending messages to Hussain saying, look, we have 14,000 people that are ready to give allegiance to you. Don't listen to Yazid. He has broken those conditions. And the bay'ah that people had given to Yazid was many times forced bay'ah. He would go into a city, you had no choice but to force, and if you don't, Assalamu alaikum, we will meet you in Jannah. Right? Like it was very forced bay'ah. So Hussain radiallahu anh did not want it to be the leader. If he had wanted to be, he would have done it at the time of Hassan. He would have done it in the 20 years of Muawiyah. He had a lot more Sahabas that would have said yes to him at that time. He was not interested. But this time around, because a pact was broken, and in his mind as Hussain radiallahu anh, that matter of principles requires sacrifice. When there's something that is off principle and we agreed, even if you have to sacrifice your life, you give your life for it. but you don't walk away from that principle that was agreed upon. That's the bigger story here. The story is not that he wanted to be a Khalifa. The story is, we had an agreement and I am no longer bound to follow this person because they broke the agreement. So he sends Muslim ibn Aqil, short form of the story, he sends Muslim ibn Aqil goes over there. And when Muslim ibn Aqil goes there, he sends a letter to Hussain radiallahu an, that I have 10,000 people, all of them are ready. All of these 10,000 people were nothing but what? Sabians that wanted this whole division. Few of them were really genuine, others were not. So Hussain radiallahu an departs. Everybody told him not to go. Abdullah ibn Abbas, he told him not to go. Abdullah ibn Zubayr, all of that, right? He didn't listen to all of them. He said, no, I have all of the, what am I going to And what was happening was he was getting letters from them. He had all of those letters from all of those people. What am I going to do with all these letters? They're telling me to come. They're ready. I am not appointing myself. They want me to be a leader. I'm not choosing this. So Hussain radiallahu anh goes over there. Again, the whole ma'arakah of Karbala, we can do a 2-hour lecture on that. That's not the point of this, right? Hussain radiallahu anh goes there. He is defeated by one person, another. His entire family is over there. All of these people come. Like, for example, the son of Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas, somebody who was being given glad tidings to be from the people of Jannah. His own son was in the army that killed Hussain. Like, so we have to understand this, that it was all tribal. Now, the part that we don't talk about is, why not let go? Why, when Hussain radiallahu anh was being killed, he gave them 3 choices. He said, either kill me, either let me go. Let me go. I am going to go in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ujahid fa'aqtul. I will fight and I will die. I'll find any battles and stuff to join and I'll do that, and I won't go back. Number 2, let me go back to Makkah. Farji' ma'a ahli. Let me go back to Makkah. Number 3, let me go and talk to Yazid and I will have a full conversation with him. Question for you. Why not let him go to Yazid? He had all of those evidences, right? And if Yazid finds out that the people of Kufa are the ones that actually instigated, right? The rumors that the Sabians spread was, oh, Hussain is about to do a khilafah. Hussain is about to go and take over the khilafah. Hussain is going to take down the appointed person of Muawiyah, Yazid. Hussain radiallahu anh is going to do this and do this. That was the rumor that was being spread. What was being spread was very different. What it was happening was very different. Kind of like what we're going through today right now with this issue of Palestine. What is happening on the ground is very different. What is being spread is completely different. Did any of you watch that documentary that came out on Zeteo? Okay, you guys did not. So there's a documentary that they prevented publishing it for almost a year and a half on the torture that the IDF does in the hospitals since October 7. All of those footages recorded by the doctors, compiled, and that documentary was supposed to be aired on BBC, and APAC and different interest groups got together, and they put so much pressure, and the documentary was initially sanctioned by, like, the BBC wanted this documentary. And then they archived it, and then Zeteo, Hassan, what's the guy's name who runs Zeteo? Mehdi Hassan. Mehdi Hassan, he actually paid lots of dollars to get rights to that documentary, and then he made it available for people to watch. All of you should go and watch it. Why? Because you will understand this story. What was being spread as rumors about Hussain was completely opposite of the reality. So much so, you're going to find this really odd, But so much so that there is a scholar by the name of Ibn al-Arabi, not Ibn Arabi. Ibn Arabi is that Sufi saint. We're talking about Ibn al-Arabi with Alif Lam. He has a kitab called Ahkam al-Quran, right? The legislative ayat of the Quran. In one of his books, he writes that because of the propaganda in Makkah, he gave a verdict that Hussein is wajibul qatl. Sunni scholar, lover of Hussein. And he writes in his book that Al-Hussein qutila bi sayfi jaddihi. Hussein was killed by the sword of his own grandfather because doesn't he know the hadith that if a khalifa has been established, then you cannot seek khilafah. And if anybody stands up to seek khilafah, then Rasulullah said, uqtulu, kill that person. Because it's going to cause fitna. Propaganda. From Kufa to Makkah, how this news changed. Hussein radiallahu anh never went there to become a khalifa. He got letters and he got appointments. Number two, Yazid cannot be appointed because he's not the khalifa. Right? Muawiyah was the king. He was not a khalifa. I know some people may not find that very comfortable, but the reality is he's not the khalifa because he stepped down he was not appointed by the masses. Hassan radiallahu anhu told the masses to go and submit to him, but he doesn't become a khalifa. Right? So all of that is very important political context for us to understand this, that there was a lot of propaganda happening. Why not let go of Hussein and let him meet Yazid? Because if he goes there, he's going to open up the whole Kufa drama. And the Sabians are going to be exposed. And their plot of dividing the Ummah into two will fail. Then in the Maqtal of Hussein, one of the events that also tells that, all the people who give bay'ah to Hussein, what happened to all of them? They were all killed. Most of them were tracked down. All their leaders were tracked down and killed. Because if the news goes out, it's done. Okay? So that's the first part of the whole story of Hassan and Hussein that we must understand. Okay? That there were a lot of things that were playing at that time politically. And now, since the Ummah was divided, ever wondered what happened after Hassan and Hussein, right? Abdullah ibn Zubair tried building a little bit of his dominion in Makkah. I think it lasted around 6 years, but then he died. Many people, we realized that, Karbala was the most painful event. No, it wasn't. The events of Harra in Medina were way more painful than Karbala. Yes, Hussein radiallahu anh was killed, but in terms of the veracity of the sins that were committed by Muslims, that Yazid's army was given 3 days of unchecked power to do whatever they wanted to do in Medina. Thousands of women were raped by the Muslims in Medina. Right? If we read history, we get to realize why. Political climate, tribalism. Today, color, this person looks darker than me, lighter than me. I can't say salam to like all of this. The story that we need to learn from that is not to be like that. And then what happens after, right? The Abbasis come in, they fall. When the Abbasis fall, right, the Iranian finally become powerful. Right? They're able to establish, but this time they're no longer Shia. Iman has gotten to them. The Seljuk Empire comes and then they start. So, if you read history, it's really interesting to see all of that from a geopolitical situation, how all of this played. Now, question for all of us. Few things that we are commonly said that has to be negated. Number one, Islam did not die at Karbala. Islam had already been established 30 years before Karbala. So we must understand this. Islam carried on. Alhamdulillah. Number two, the path of Hussein teaches us to sacrifice life and your own comforts for values and morals. He gave up his life for what he believed to be true. It was very easy for him to sit and bask in the shade of grandson of Prophet. I am the living grandson of Prophet. Come to me. Right? And that is why sometimes when we see all of that, the culture that we find in India and Pakistan, also in Egypt and other parts, in Africa too, I am from the lineage of the Prophet. The people from the lineage of the Prophet, they fight for justice. They don't sit there and say, brother, please, I'm from the lineage, Allah, come. That's not the way of the Ahlul Bayt. Right? That's not the way of the Ahlul Bayt. They've always been forefront in change. They don't accept status quo. That's the lesson we learn from Hussein's life. Number three, we have to be very, very aware of the political manipulation that is happening now. Trust me, as Muslims living in these lands, people are not, they're like, we've tried everything, 2 generations, but they're still Muslims. That's not sitting well with them. They're still praying, masajids are increasing, churches are converting into mosques. That's not very, very palatable for most. So understand that political manipulation is the only way they can get to us. That's the only way they can get to us. And the last part, and this is where credit is due. So when the events of Sykes-Picot happened, where they cut out the whole, Muslim lands into countries for all of us, Iraq, Iran, all of these things happened, Pakistan, and all of these, divisions that happened, right? For the longest period of time, the Shia strand of Islam, they said, we are going to be pacifists. So if you look at all of the Imams of the Shia at that time, Ja'far al-Sadiq, all of them, they lived through the age of Muawiyah. They didn't do anything. They were people who were focused on fixing people's akhirah and iman. They became apolitical. And Shias, for the history, other than the few deviant sects of the Shias like the Batinis and all of these, right? You'll find them, most of them, they stayed apolitical because they're waiting for who? They're waiting for the last Imam, right? The Mahdi. They're waiting for the last Imam. The change happened when Khomeini came in Iran, right? And he said, for how long are you guys going to sit like pacifists? And he sparked in them the spirit of sacrifice. Sadly, in the Sunni, Ahl Sunnah world, we don't have that spirit left. The spirit to fight. The spirit to stand up for morals. The spirit to stand up for what we believe is right. That, you find this in the Shias. And you got to give it to them. You go to UK, right? Like, I don't know if you guys saw that recent nasheed that came out, Salam Ya Mahdi. Did anybody see that? Salam Ya Mahdi. So, Ya Wa'dina Sadiq, Ya Sadiq al-Wa'di. That entire song, the next like all of these young generations born in UK, every single one of them is singing that song, Waiting for Mahdi. People are terrified. They're like, what is going on? Full park, like the entire downtown UK, and they've recorded all of that. Like, if you look at it, it's the instillment of our values through nasheeds. That's why we do these nasheeds, right? That's how you when you read وَكَفُّ الْمُصْطَفَى كَالْوَرْدِ نَادِي, that the hand of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was like a rose petal, وَعِطْرُهَا يَبْقَى إِذَا مَسَّتْهَا أَيَادِي, that the scent of a Prophet's hand would remain in your hand once he touched you. When you understand these verses, Iman. Right? We revived Iman in the past in children by poems. They didn't understand, but once they understand, it hits them. And poetry and songs play a big thing. They have done a really good job with using poetry, songs to instill the values that we need to instill. We have to learn that. We've lost it. Sadly, we have lost it within the Sunni field, right? Within Ahl Sunnah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the tawfiq, inshaAllah. We're all united over here for the purpose. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to do what we want to do. Tonight's iftar is sponsored by Islamic Relief. And mashallah, every single time we have asked them saying, hey, you know what, would you be able to sponsor an iftar for us? Right? They don't even think. They're like, can you send us the bill? They're like, we'll do that. Right? Now, as you know, we don't collect zakat. Once we start the Quran school, then we can, but before that, we cannot. Right? And we can't collect zakat, and we generally tell people, if you have projects that you want to support, then partner up with another charity that can do it 1,000 times better than us. Okay? Now, Islamic Relief is here. I can see the brother. Where are you? Brother Osama. Do you have your table set up upside? Perfect. So the goal that was given to me today, it costs $1,200 to sponsor one yatim. You can choose the country of your liking. $1,200. How many are there that have to be renewed? 5,000 something? 5,100 something. 5,100 children, their renewals are due in the next 2 months. I.e., 5,100 children, we need to find 5,100 sponsors that can either give $100 a month or you can give $1,200. Who knows the reward of sponsoring a yatim? Who knows the reward? What did Prophet ﷺ say about it? Kafilul yatim, the one who takes care of an orphan. Ma'iya fil jannati hakada. He is going to be in Jannah with me, with Rasulullah, like this. Right? And then notice how Rasulullah ﷺ said the word kafil, which means if you did it once, you become worthy of Rasulullah's entrance. Now, if you read the explanation of this hadith, it's so powerful. Some of the scholars, they said, you know what? If Prophet ﷺ promised you that you take care of a yatim, you get a place for me in Jannah, do you think Allah is going to break Rasulullah's promise for you? And the answer is no. So we want to be able to sponsor 10 orphans from this community. Okay, that's the goal. If you want to do more than 10, bismillah. Don't limit it to 10. Right? But I just want people, if I can have just 10 people that can commit to this. It couldn't be just one person that can say, you know what, I got all 10. Alhamdulillah, we're good with that. Right? But it's $1,200, and the way you do it is you just meet. Can you get up so people can see you too? Explain yourself, who you are. And MashaAllah.
The thing about that, the last when we decided to work, like all the orphan sponsorship program work like that. Every month you will be sponsoring a person in $100, any country you pick. And alhamdulillah, these more than 5,000 people are being waiting for renewal. But renewal will be end in August. So that's a humble request. Alhamdulillah, most of our projects throughout the year being working efficiently, other than orphans, because it's throughout the commitment.
Yeah. So you have 5,000 orphans that need to be renewed in August. Okay. All right. End of August. Inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all tawfiq, inshallah. If anybody wants to go, please go outside. Do it while you're fasting. How much time you have? You have a few minutes left. Do it while you're fasting. You never know, this could be the deed. And your iftar is going to come here. So we're not getting up from here. Right? If you're going to go and support, you can be outside. You can go and meet Brother Osama outside. Otherwise, they will bring iftar over here. And then what I'm going to need help with the brothers is, as soon as we're done eating iftar, or maybe we can do this now. Can we just start putting the chairs at the back for the brothers, and likewise for the sisters, except 1 or 2 rows that sisters are going to need for that. Inshallah, let's close it with the dua. Allahumma salli wa sallim ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallim tasliman kathira wa barik Allahumma ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad kama barakta ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. We ask you, Ya Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, on this blessed day to accept from us our fast. Ya Allah, we ask you, Ya Allah, to give us the tawfiq to be able to do the best that we can do in our lives. Ya Allah, we fall short every single time, but you never fall short in our lives. Ya Allah, do not hold us accountable for what we have done, but make us worthy of your rahmah. Ya Allah, treat us with your rahmah and not with our a'mal. Ya Allah, we are weak servant of yours. We do not have any good deeds to present to you. Our good deeds are filled with defects. Ya Allah, your rahmah encompasses every single thing. Ya Allah, make us worthy of your rahmah and encompasses with your rahmah on this blessed day. Ya Allah, allow us to learn the lessons from the life of Hussain radiallahu an. Ya Allah, allow us the tawfiq to love Ahlul Bayt, to love the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and to learn about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his family. Ya Allah, give us the tawfiq to practice his sunnah and the sunnah of all of the sahabas that came after. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروا فإنه غفور.